Frozen in this moment, the last, and I know it. Think about the winners with hands with the coldest. Think about handout, shit, you're still growing. Think about the world, how we didn't even notice.
Welcome, everybody. Hello. How are you doing? It's Thursday night, which podcast night, as always, here in West Cork. We are, what are we at this stage? We're fastly coming, the most watched podcast in West Cork, which is a bit of a proud moment for myself because, like I've said 1,000 times before, this is basically a guy that talks a lot of shite and he's getting away with it. But my guests are way more interesting than me, so I promise you that. And I am joined today by basically the start of the fighting pride in West Cork, Mr. Tony Stephenson, right? This guy has got more championships belts than I don't know anybody else who has got as many as them. But we're going to be joined in the podcast today. We're going to be asking him the who, what, when, how. You know how it goes like this. And of course, we are live on Facebook, so you can stick your comments in the comment section. If you have any questions for him, you can ask away. He's a nice guy. If he doesn't like you, he can kick you in the head as well on the other side of that too. But no, I know this guy a long time, so he's really sound. And we're going to get into it. So hang on a second. If I press this button and God willing and everything's working, it doesn't go all good. Tony, how are you, brother? What's the crack?
Good. How are you, Terence?
Hanging in there. Whew, we got it. We got there. We touch and go, but we managed to make it. How's life with you, my friend?
It's good. I've been locked down, 2 beautiful little girls at home, so yeah, I'm enjoying it. Enjoying life, training at home, and being a full-time dad at the moment. So it's great.
Yeah, do you know what? There's a lot of sort of small little victories we're taking from this COVID, like, because I know there's a lot of doom and gloom and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got a 2-year-old, and it's been absolutely fantastic to be off and be kind of sort of paid to be off and sort of see them up and growing. Like, you're kind of being a paid babysitter now, minding your own children and raising your own children, which is fantastic because, Jesus, if we were all working now, would we get to see as much? That's the thing, you know?
Oh no, there's just so many funny things that I'm witnessing that I'm just so grateful for. Like the other day, we had our older one. She's 2.5, same age as yours, and for some reason she had a carrot in her mouth and she had to keep it in her mouth while she was asleep. And I tried taking it out, and she just was like, put it back in, and then went back to sleep. And I'm like, so it's just funny stuff like this that I would miss if I was working, you know. So I'm really grateful that I get to see it all, you know.
Yeah, do you know what? And that is, these are the small things we got to take for granted, or we don't take for granted right now, because we might never get this sort of spell again, which is great. It's great. Do you know what? I'm not trying to take it too seriously, this COVID, because it's only as hard as you make it. Like I said to myself at the very, very start, you know, because if I thought about it and really, really thought about it, you'd go around with a heavy, heavy load on your shoulders. So look, we'll all get back to it. We all know we'll get back to it at the very, very couple of months. Very latest, I'd say. Well, they did say a couple of weeks to us this time last year, but we're on to our 19th lockdown now at this stage. But they get easier, everyone, anyway. So that's the main thing.
We're managing away. Like, we're definitely, well, for me anyway, I could say that I'm settling in. Like, I think it'd be now a bit of a change of routine now to go back and teach class. I'm really looking forward to it, and like going back to work. But I'm also very used to staying at home with the girls now, so it's good.
Yeah, that's it too. Like, you know, like we said, look, we got little girls. We've got little girls to worry about, and we've got little girls to sort of keep fellas away from in about 18 years' time. You know, that's this whole martial arts thing is going to work to us. We're going to be like Joe Rogan's later on. We're all 50 and stuff like that. We're all going to be fit, ready to go. And he's got 3 daughters, I think, or 2 daughters as well. So
something like that. Yeah.
You got to put up a couple of more sort of kick-ass YouTube videos and Instagrams to sort of make them piss off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just scare them. Oh, hello, Mr. Stevenson. I'm the guy dating your daughter. I have a hammer in my drawer.
You wouldn't need it. Just kick the fucker in the head straight. Drop kick him in the face.
Yeah. I was saying this to my partner Brita the other day, and I was like, I really don't mind, like, you know, who they go out with and stuff like that down the line, as long as they're not some boy racer. I just don't. That'd be my idea of a nightmare. Just get the idea of them getting into a car with a boy racer. Oh, it's so scary. But
it is.
Yeah, that's my. I think I'll be fine with anything else, really. Well, I say that, but who knows? I might be different in 15, 16 years time. So you can ask me again then.
Yes, that's what we will. We'll ask. We can ask both of us. And sort of, What my eldest one now is 8, so I've got about another 6. I'm hoping 7, maybe 50 years. Really, like I'm not really putting before I have to start worrying about boys and stuff like that. But no, look, they're grand. Look, once they're all healthy and strong, that's all that matters. So, right, we must get into the very, very start of this. How did this road to like world domination come about?
I started kickboxing not for any reason, for medals or for like anything like that. I literally went because I needed a bit of confidence. So when I was, I think it was very young. I was like 6 to 7. I didn't have the nicest teacher. This guy was like old school teaching now. Like he wasn't sir, he was master. So we called him master. I'm not going to say his name. Well, he really did not take a liking to me. And I think it was because I had this big British accent on me. I don't know, but I really gained a stutter, like a stammer, from being around him. And anyway, a year later, my parents pulled me out of that school, and were like, "Okay, you need to get a bit of confidence now." So my dad sent me to do kickboxing lessons with Ian Kingston. So he was doing classes in Bantry, and I just went because just to develop a little bit of confidence and maybe learn a bit of self-defense on the way and get fit. And it was an individual sport, so it's something that you can really use to work on yourself. And also my brother and my sister tagged along as well. They were doing it too, so it was really easy to kind of have just every Thursday night we hop in the car, we go kickboxing for an hour. And it was just something we did, and we did it for a while. It wasn't until years and years later that I was like, oh, Tony's starting to show a bit of talent for fighting, and that's how it progressed. I got better through the sparring. So I did enjoy most aspects of the kickboxing training, but I really enjoyed the sparring side. I had a lot of fun with that. So that's how I got started, really. Just my parents wanting me to just get fit, learn a bit of discipline, and the rest is history.
That's some journey. It's been some journey when you look back at it. Can you still remember your first training session?
Yeah, I do. Actually, Ian wasn't there. I remember we were training downstairs in the boys' club, right next to. So back in the day, you might remember this in the boys' club. It was all. I think it was all one big hall. So Andy's room. It was all one big hall, and before the wall was put up, and we would train in there, and it was just. We were barefoot. It was cold. I remember we were all in our lines, and there was there was no games, there was no like all this fun interaction. There was like no hitting pads or no sparring in my first session. It was just you stay in your line, you stay in your fighting stance, you stand like this, and you do the techniques we show you. So it was really boring, but I didn't think of it as boring at the time. I just did it because I was told by my dad do it, and we did it. But it's completely different now to how classes are taught now. Now classes have to be a bit more fun, have more games, and we do the sparring as well. Like I get some of my students like sparring quite early, but back in the day, that was my first session. I just remember like the first few weeks training barefoot on wooden floor, and the blisters, crazy.
The slipping and the sliding, and I even go back to the early days of the boxing, and it was like a piece of 10 by 10 carpet with 4 chairs around it with a piece of blue nylon rope. That was our ring.
Yeah. I remember talking to Andy and him telling me that was the first ring. Yeah, and his first class. Yeah, that's gas, isn't it?
Jesus. That's what? When did I start? 11, 12, something like that. I think I was 11 or 12 when I started. So that's 20 odd years ago now. The club must be nearly 20 years there now. Some give or take, maybe a year. It should be. He'll probably hit me up after this and go, Terence, do you not remember exactly what day? So no, I've had too many punches to the head to remember that. But it's about 20 years, I think. I think.
Because I even remember training with you back in the day. I did a bit of boxing with Andy for a year or so. I did it really to improve my boxing and kickboxing. But my brother Dom, he was the real superstar in our family for boxing. Like he's only just finished now boxing properly for the Marines. So Dom had a good few fights in America and the UK boxing for the Royal Marines out there. So Dom's like he's best. If anyone was to ask you in the kickboxing world, Tony's the kicker, Dom's the puncher, Tony's known for his legs, Dom's known for his boxing. But I remember tagging into a few of the classes, with Dom, and I just remember going like, because you were the older teenagers and we were the little kids. I just remember watching you and Robbie like spar in the ring. Go, whoa, that's like elite level. That's where I want to be in a few years. In when I come to spar. And I even remember going in and having a play spar with Robbie, and he was just tipping me. And I remember like he did something like this just to raise my hands up here, and he just gave me a little nudge on the ribs, and oh god, I felt it. I was like, Jesus. I was like, it's so. And then I don't put myself in that position then when I'm like playing around and messing with my students, so. I kind of miss that in some way, like when I wasn't the biggest fish in the pond. You know what I mean? It's cool having those other people in the room that you're kind of watching. Go, oh wow, what's this person training like? I want to do that. I want to do that on the pads next. And that's what you and Rob were like for me.
Oh, Jesus, I appreciate it, man. As far as I was concerned, I was getting in there and swinging for the fences. There wasn't much technique with me.
You were so quick. You were so quick. You had such good footwork and good head movement, and everything about your body language just sang confidence. And it was and you had. I remember you had some hook on you as well. I remember Andy like giving out about your hook. I don't know if you were southpaw or orthodox, but I remember your lead hook was just. Orthodox, yeah. I just remember Andy was saying that like you hit him one day and he was holding the pad and boom with the hook, and he said like, geez, it felt like my arm was going to come off a socket. Like he said he had chest pain all the next week.
No, that was my punch, but I traced it back to that's my mother. My mother can hit some slap, like, so that's where I got it from.
You say something cheeky, you just watch your right, so you duck on the left.
I'll say it right now. The hardest I ever been hit in the head was by my mother. So yeah, that's. So
I've been there.
Maybe I picked it up from there. You know what I mean? But it was great, and I don't know whether we've got too PC, but I always liked it when you sort of mixed. Yeah, I don't know. Would you get away with that now? I wonder, bringing classes together.
Like you mean young kids and old kids and sparring and stuff?
Well, not even that, but like as in bringing kickboxers in with boxers and stuff like that. Like I kind of liked the way we were kind of brought. Like Andy with me, I used to keep my legs very, very far apart, and he used to tie my feet, and then he used to tie my feet and put me in with the heavyweights and say, "Run." So my ankles would be burnt off me, because all it would be was a piece of orange nylon rope. Like it wasn't as if it was like a nice piece of wool or anything like that. It was nylon rope, so it would sort of chafe the ankles off me as well as I moved. But I used to always overreach with my right hand, and I tell you, a couple of rounds with nylon rope around your hands or around your ankles, and you don't reach anymore.
Oh no, I had problems where I opened my fingers, and if I was doing shadowboxing, I had pennies put in my hands. I dropped the pennies. If Ian or Andy heard the pennies drop, it'd be push-ups. I also remember one day, like Andy had a big problem with my lead hand. My lead hand was too much flopping up and down, doing too much of this. So I remember he got me to. It started off with a small basketball here, and I just moved. With this basketball, I had to keep it trapped between the forearm and the bicep. And I had to just move around like that in front of the mirror, and then it turned into a medicine ball, a light medicine ball, and geez, your arm was getting tired. So like little things like that, One that I made up actually, and I get my students doing this, and it's really good. It's do you know the Bosu Balls? They're like these like round, soft balls where they're flat on top. So you imagine like a Swiss ball, but on top of the half of the Swiss ball, it's like flat. I get them stood on top of that, and they do their boxing. But obviously because it moves and shifts, so if I have a kid who overreaches or overextends, they're going to fall off it. So it's a great way of like keeping their center balance. They don't hit the pads like hard, but they understand the importance of keeping their knees bent and their structure behind all their shots. So I get a lot of my kids doing that, and I see them improve, and I actually see their punches get stronger, because like 50% of your power comes from your feet, like from how you use the ground. So like stuff like that, like little tricks like that to just, skip a few steps, so you don't have to kind of go into too much detail and make them overthink about it, Those little things just kind of ingrain it in their muscle memory,
Yes, of course, or cut the ankles off them, or, I remember one time I was up squad training in Cork, and I used to always have a habit of just putting my hand to here on my chin, just right there. It wouldn't matter 4 or 5 inches, right? And the guy, actually, we were squad training. I wasn't in Cork. The Cork team came down, squad. We were training in Bantry. And the guy turned around and said to me, if you don't keep that hand up, I'm going to hit you. We're doing pads, right? And I'm going to hit you. And I was like, grand. Like, I was only 6 inches. So I was like, I'm going to get my hand back. in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was 1-2 hook, bang, bang, bang. And I always with the hook, I'd finish down here. Well, he hit me a slap and caught my ear. He busted my ear. My ear went black and blue, and the cartilage, it came out like cauliflower.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, man, it fucking hurt. And I wouldn't mind. It wasn't the ear that was sore. It was the ringing in the ear afterwards. And it was like that constant, like, you know, that type of noise.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Sure, if you did that
you
to a kid now.
You wouldn't get away with that today. No, Jesus.
Way.
No.
You swear we're going on back in the 70s where they used to beat pupils in school and stuff like that. We're only talking 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I remember when you were tall enough, you sparred. For me, I don't know if you know Malcolm Rowley. He passed away a few years ago, but he's a small guy.
Yeah.
He was a tank. He was a tank. Yeah. Kind of same kind of as me. But I remember growing up when I got to about 11, because he's not a big guy. I was the same height as him. He's strong, and I remember going sparring him, and it's like, we're the same height, but he's a man and I'm still a boy. And I remember sparring him and going, Jesus, it was like, you know. But it brought out a little bit more of a toughness in me, and dealing with his pressure. Then, you know, it'd be easier to deal with someone's, you know, pressure that's my own size, my own age, my own experience. So it was good like that. And I would spar with, you know, it's kind of cool because over the years you're sparring with your trainer, like doing a little bit pad. So I was sparring with Ian, and it started off light and it was fun, and then it got more serious, and then you can see Ian going, you know, he's having to really push himself hard to keep on top. And I think somewhere, I don't know when, but I guess I would have overtaken him at some point. You know, that's just the way it goes. But it's a beautiful process to see. You know, to like. I get a great thrill when I have my guys, when I'm coaching them and they succeed in competition. I'm not to the point yet where I have a student that's currently able to beat me, but I have a funny feeling it's not too far down the road, you know.
But see, then this is the problem. Like it only goes to the level of a teacher that you are when the people get above. You know what I mean? And like there's certain trainers won't ever let their students get better than them because they don't want to. You know, they take a very sort of egotistic mentality towards it, because they go, no, hold on a second, he can't be better than me. I am the trainer here. I'm God inside this. Well, when I close that door, I'm God and everybody must bet onto me. I've been there. I've been in them training situations where, like, you, or even gyms where the trainers, you're not allowed to talk. Like there's like, you know, it's monk style where you don't talk to nobody. No one talks to you. You're given your instructions basically nearly on a piece of paper, or else it's written on the board. And if you ask to even leave to go to the toilet, it was 50 press-ups or 50 sit-ups. You know, this is training time now, son. You like anything that happens outside the gym right now doesn't exist. Like there could be an apocalypse. You ain't leaving until your time is up. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I've been in the gyms, but it's nice to see somebody, like, especially when you're a coach or stuff like that. Because I've never did any coaching. I just basically packed it all in when I got too old. But it would be nice to sort of, because it would. What was the easiest way of describing this? It would show how good you are as a coach, how progression and how quickly the progression of your students comes along. You know, that you were able to show it, and you accept the fact that, hey, you ain't going to be big dog forever, but they will respect you anyway. So you'll always be big dog, no matter if they can hit you harder or hit you quicker or anything like that. You're still going to be big dog, but you must allow them sort of. It's like a butterfly, you know. If you keep a butterfly inside your hands for too long, it dies. You have to let it go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to.
I've seen it with boxers, like I've seen it with boxers. I've seen it with boxers even in the ring when they're in during rounds. Do you know when the round is finished and they're getting instructions? It's just like this, like still no talk, no nothing from the fighter. Like it's strange, very strange. You never wanted to go pro fighting, no? Over to Japan or K1 and stuff.
I was well, I went into Olympic Taekwondo, so my dream was always to, like, I felt I won everything in amateur very, very quick. And like the pro game in Wacko kickboxing, it's now recognized by the Olympic sporting body, but it's not in the Olympics, so we're pretty close. But I always said, okay, the next thing for me was the Olympics. Like I'd like the idea of doing K1 or MMA or something like that. But it kind of like, okay, it's one or two things. It's got to be this or this. And I was known as a kicker, so I was like, okay, it makes more logical sense to kind of try out Olympic Taekwondo. And I had a British passport as well because I was born in the UK. So what I found out was I was training with a club out in the UK. So I was getting, they're called Team Blue Blood. So I was out training with them. and I was getting some spars and good training with them and their coach Avander. And I remember one of the guys on the team there, he was doing what's called this fighting chance program, where it was like basically they're inviting fighters from other sports to come in and try out in their sport, because their sport had a change in the rules where they said, okay, there's more points for head kicks, there's more. So taekwondo is a kicking based sport. It's in the Olympics, it's been in the Olympics since a long time now. And they changed the rules to make it more spectator friendly. So they wanted to award more points to the head. They also introduced Bluetooth sensors, so you have sensors on your feet, so when you kick the pads, it registers on the score. But because
a bit like
it
fencing, that type of system.
Yeah, it's like, that's the way I best describe it. It's like 3D fencing, but you've two swords, which are your legs. But back in the old days, it was spins and triples. It was really fast and like it was crazy quick. And what happened was, when they decided to add in the points to the head, it changed the dynamic of the sport. So why do all the spins and triples and these fancy kicks where you can just, if you're tall, you have a lead leg, just plop it on their head guard. It doesn't need to be a really hard kick. It just needs to touch the head guard. So what you saw was a lot of these front leg kickers, and a lot of the experienced taekwondo fighters back with the old system, they had real difficulty trying to learn the new system. But what they realized was there was a lot of good front leg kickers in the likes of kickboxing and karate and taekwondo, ITF taekwondo. So what they did was they held this fighting chance where they let you come in, you compete against another non-taekwondo fighter, and they see how you do. And they also make you do all these other like physical challenges and tests and stuff. But it was really just about the sparring. So this lad who was on this team, he got invited, and I said I wanted to do it because I was going to do one more year of kickboxing, and then I was going to try out for the Irish team. But the Irish team have no funding. Like, the first time they're ever going to have an Olympic athlete in taekwondo is this year. Is this year now, and he's exceptionally good. He could. His name's Jack Woolley. He could definitely pull a medal out. Yeah, he could definitely win. Yeah. I've seen him fight when I was at GB Taekwondo, and he's very good. He's very good. So he could win a medal in the Olympics in a few months' time. He'll definitely do well. He'll definitely perform well. I know that. He's very good. The
Olympics even happening this year now? Have they given the okay for that? I
heard it had.
Well, last time I was hearing it, it was like there was a touch and go. It was like a 50-50 time to happen if all the athletes had to be quarantined from sort of now to make it. Didn't they have to get like 4 weeks or 8 weeks worth of quarantine before they could even to get there? I think that was sure. Yeah, Jesus, we're in March now. Yeah, so that was sort of back in January, February. So I haven't seen it. I saw the flame being taken, but I didn't know whether that was sort of symbolic or.
I heard. I didn't read this anywhere, but I heard from someone saying to me that it's going ahead in like July. But if there's not going to be like the stadiums aren't going to. It's just going to be local Japanese people watching. So like it won't be as atmospheric, I suppose. Yeah. That's what I heard. But who knows? You know, things can change. But anyway, when this fella I was training with, he tried out. I said I wanted to do it. I went and tried out, and I passed, and we did 3 trial phases, and then I got accepted. I signed a contract. I trained with them for 4 years. So I was training as a professional athlete in the hopes of going to the Rio Olympic Games. Unfortunately, I didn't qualify for the Rio Olympic Games. So the top and bottom of it, I just wasn't good enough. Like, I was an okay fighter, but I went into it for the wrong reasons. I went into it really just because I wanted to go to the Olympics, not because I love Taekwondo, not because this is my passion. I literally, if it was Muay Thai, it would have been Muay Thai. If it was Kung Fu, it would have been. I would have done that. And it kind of showed. It also showed me that like I was very structured in kickboxing. Ian, my kickboxing trainer, was very good. He structures all this, but I had to unlearn a lot of things and unpack a lot of things, which took a lot of time. So it was a few years into it that I started kind of getting a bit better, and I won my first tournament, I think, a year and a half into it, which is very slow progress. So I didn't earn enough points, and I didn't make it to Rio. So I made the decision to come back and go back competing in kickboxing again, and have a family.
Yeah, so like that was a lot of decisions made there fairly quickly in the space of a year or two. Like, decisions are made. It's like kickboxing isn't in the Olympics. It is Taekwondo is the only sort of combat. Boxing, Taekwondo, and karate, judo Is karate in there?
wrestling.
I think judo is in there.
Karate is actually, I was training with one of the top coaches in Ireland for Irish karate, IKF. They have a fella in the club I was training with, a bronze medal in the Youth Olympic Games, and I was sparring with him, and I had some great spars. And I said, like, maybe Taekwondo wasn't a good fit for me, but maybe Olympic karate is something that I could do. And I was talking to them, and they said, look, 2020 is not going to happen. It's too late. But maybe 2024. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. All right, I can, I'll still be 2024. What was I was going to be 32 then, or something like that. So I was like, yeah, maybe I could do this, and this might suit me better, And it was a bit of positivity coming my way on this, and I was thinking, yeah, I could do this. I remember one day I was sat at home on the toilet on my phone, like you do. I was just scrolling through, and next thing it came up like karate kicked out of the Olympics for 2024. It's literally coming for Tokyo, but it's getting kicked out then for 2024. And I was like, why is it kicked out? And it's like, breakdancing. Oh, breakdancing's in the Olympics.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool too. But I'm not a breakdancer, so I was like, no, okay. Well, that dream's not going to happen now. So yeah, yeah. So that was something I was like generally like playing around. I'd love to do a bit of amateur MMA. Like I'm really thinking about like when things go back to normal, just doing a bit of that, just to say I've done it and to try it. And it's I've done a bit of jiu-jitsu now, so it'd be something that I've always like really wanted to do. So yeah, that'll be something I want to give a try. I definitely want to compete out in Russia this year or possibly next year for the World Championships, depending on if things are if things are getting back to a bit of normality.
That would be a retainer type, wouldn't it? Would that be
the
same?
Well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm nowhere near my original fighting weight. Yeah, maybe that will never happen again. Maybe welterweight will never happen again. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say anything.
But there hasn't been a world championship since then, is there?
No. So I'm currently world champion in. It was 2019, so it was the end of 2019. So that was out in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. Yeah. So I won at welterweight there, and then there was also a pro fight that was like. Myself and my trainer were thinking about doing a pro fight, so Wacko Pro. It's not like really prestigious. It's not as like popular as K1, but it's something. It's a pro fight. So, and we were going to do it here in West Cork, and we're having ideas about doing it like possibly in the Maritime, something like that. And I was going to be fighting possibly. I think he's from Belarus, something like that. Anyway, some guy, and we were possibly thinking about doing that kind of a fight.
Yes.
Tony is the Chuck Norris of Ireland.
We've got Cian all the way in New Zealand checking in on us. He's always good for a laugh. Tony's the Irish version of Chuck Norris. How does that sound?
It sounds good, although I don't grow the same amount of chest hair as Chuck Norris. So if you ever seen the fight scene of Chuck Norris against Bruce Lee in a cringy moment where he takes off his shirt and there's just this wild red hair, I don't have that. So if there was ever a fight if there was ever a fight where I had to take my shirt off, and I don't think people would be impressed if they're like their Chuck Norris,
Hey man, I've seen you with a shirt off. You're pretty still impressive. God damn it, man. I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I must get back. Like I was looking at pictures of me when I was fighting. I was going, Jesus, was that the same person? Now I've got like the dad bod where I'm sort of spilling out over my jeans and kind of looking back and reminiscing. Oh Jesus, I remember when I was fit. I remember when I was 8 stone 2 and fighting well. You know what I mean?
God, yeah. Well, I'm the same. Like since lockdown, I put on weight. I don't think I'm ever gonna. If I do fight welterweight, it would have to be for an awful lot of money because it'll be worth an awful lot of pain. But no, I don't think I'll ever do that to myself again unless it was really, really worth it.
You have to come what's welter in kickboxing?
Welterweight in kickboxing is 69 kilos. So 69. Right now, I don't know, should I say what I am now, but at the time I had to come down from 76.5, so it was quite a bit of a climb down. So I did it over 8 to... Yeah. So I got down to about 70.5, and I sweated out the last 2.5 kilos a few hours before the weigh-in, and then so that was like my toughest. After that, I was like, I don't think I can do this again. Like it's too like when it starts to show on your skin, that's like a warning sign. Like I did everything properly. Like I ate really well, I slept really well, I trained really well. It was the most professional year I've ever had in terms of preparation. Like on my side, I did everything I was asked. But like when I remember coming out of the sauna and my skin was just blotchy, and I was like, okay, this is a reaction. Like my body's not happy with what's going on. So I still fought really well. I performed well, but I was like, okay, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this to myself again. It's not worth it. Yeah, I had 5 fights out in Sarajevo, so they were fun.
Did you weigh in every
Especially
day,
my
or did
second
you
fight. No,
did
no,
you
no,
weigh?
no. So yeah. Oh no. We didn't like. That's what's lucky about my sport is that I don't have to weigh in every day. So we just had to weigh in the once. So yeah, it's very lucky. Some of the K1 fights do. So like the ring sports have to. They weigh in every day. But for the matted sports, you don't. You just weigh in the once, and that's it. So you'll see You'll see most people make massive climbs downs
Yeah,
like climb downs in their weights
yeah,
in the matted sport. Yeah, it was really crazy. Like because so the type of form of kickboxing I do, it's actually called light contact. There's nothing light about it. So when I used to say
like
to my friends like
inverted
I
commas.
do,
Yeah,
yeah. So when I said to my friends back in the day, oh, I did light contact, they're like, is that where you tickle each other? It's like no, it's I don't know why they decided to give it that name. It's full contact. It's full contact to the body. The like you can hit full contact like basically with a kick or a punch, but basically if you wind your hand back, what looks like that's give you a warning. But
yeah.
everyone I fought was trying to take. We were all trying to take each
Hit
other's.
clean off each other. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's the funny thing because I remember that day in Bosnia. That week in Bosnia, there was guys in the K1 ring, and we had one of our Irish guys fighting. I think he was a Swedish guy, and he got him with a spinning hook kick, so heel. The guy didn't even
Yeah,
drop; he just stumbled back a little, dropped his hand a little bit, but then he did this. That was enough for the referee to go, "No, you're done, you're done," and the fight was done.
yeah,
But then you go into the light contact, right? And there were guys getting like dropped, like asleep on the ground for a second, back up. The referee calls time. You get a medic. You get 2 minutes. Do you want to continue? Of course, the fighter who's been training all his life, going to be, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. They could well
yeah,
have a concussion. It's really dangerous. So, like,
yeah, yeah,
like the medics were for that tournament in particular kind of weak, and they were kind of going, "Do you want to keep going?" Other than
yeah,
going, I'm not happy with this. So you had a lot of these fighters getting knocked out, getting up, fighting, knocked out again, fighting, and it's like, this is dangerous. And quite a
yeah.
lot of the light contact fighters went and spent nights in hospitals, and they've changed the rules now because of. I think it was a big influence in why the rules are now changed. So basically, the center referee in our sport, they've only just changed this in the last 6 months. Basically, the center referee has all the power except the medic. So if the medic goes, no, you're not. I'm not happy with you continuing this
Mhm.
fight. Everyone listens. So whereas in other tournaments, sometimes there's like this discussion amongst the fighter and the coach, which is I think a bad idea. So the rules have changed, and I think a big influence on that was what happened in Bosnia.
Jesus, I mean, like,
I mean,
I
there
go
was
on.
one fighter from Austria, and I'm not going to name him, but he got knocked out. Like he got knocked out and
Yeah,
really hard by this Russian dude, and he got up and he still finished the fight, but afterwards he was taking off his gear, and the coach was like, "Okay, you're fine, tournament done," and he was like, "Oh, okay, when am I on later?" He was like, "What do you mean? When am I fighting later?" He's like, "You fought, you lost. Where do you think you are?" And he's like, "Dublin." It's like, "Oh, medic, get him to the ambulance." Like
yeah,
it's like it was
yeah.
crazy. Like, and there was a few guys that were like in that scenario, so it was like really scary. Like so
Yeah. But can you fight?
yeah.
Can you fight? You fight twice, 3 times a day, can you?
No, you can only fight twice a day is the max.
Twice a day.
I Yeah, you can't fight any more than that.
Mm.
In the ring, it's once a day. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure. But in the on the matted tatamis, it's twice a day. So I fought Spain first, and then the next day I fought the I think the current world champion from Russia, and then I fought Ukraine, and then I fought Switzerland, and then I fought Italy in the final. So I had 5 fights.
Italy was your final.
Yeah,
Over,
Italy was.
over which 4 or 5 days straight through. There wasn't like a gap or anything. There
It
was.
was like there was one day I think I had a gap. I think it was between my semi-final and my final. I think I had a day's rest. I think I did. I can't really remember. It was all a big blur.
You, did you get too many kicks?
Yeah.
Did you,
Probably.
you can plan a serious amount of weight over 4 or 5 days then for your final if you make it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember like a few days after the weigh-in. I think for my second or third fight, I weighed in. I was back up to 74, and I was fighting in the 69 kg category. But everyone's doing it, so it's not like
No,
maybe
Jesus.
yeah.
Everybody gets down fighting. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I was, you would always, see, this is, yeah, there's pluses and minuses to that too. I don't know whether it's great to be losing so much weight. They've brought it
No,
into, they've brought in no weight cutting into some organization. Did Bellator
probably
bring it in?
junior boxing. Is it in junior boxing?
No, I think it was some MMA thing. It's what's the UFC in Asia?
Oh,
Uh,
one.
There's
Is it
one, yes.
one? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's one. They do a weight test, and they weigh you like 3 weeks before, and then
yeah.
they weigh you again, and you have to be within a certain, like, you can't go lose 6, 7, 8, 10 kgs for a fight.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got to
Like there's this.
be in a certain way now. There's like a
Oh,
percentage. So if
oh,
you're
yeah,
weighing at 70 3 weeks ago, you can only go to 68, or you can only
yeah,
go to 72. There's a small gap there. You can't trim down. Like, I know guys that were at 70 that were going to box 59, 58.
yeah.
You know what I
I know
mean?
a
Like,
guy. I know a guy personally. Who came down he fought in one kickboxing tournament at 74 kilos. I kid
yeah,
you not. I can't remember the year. Was it 2014? He weighed in at 54 kilos. He lost 20 kilos. Yeah. Really dangerous. Like, as in, I'm glad things are like that in place. Like, when you go into like those professional fights with so much money on the line, it's
yeah,
just like it's this huge thing about just make the weight, and
yeah.
they'll climb down like 10, 11 kilos. It's crazy. Like,
We got Laura Collins coming
oh,
in. She says, Tony is an absolute inspiration to kids in West Cork. Privileged to have my kids train with him. So we got
oh,
great
thank you,
words coming in from Laura. But yeah, man, I remember, jeez,
thanks,
I
Laura.
remember doing that weight cut. I remember like boiled rice and boiled chicken and just water. That was my diet like
Mm.
15 days before getting to a fight. Like, and you were doing everything. You were sleeping in black bags. You were sweating out in baths. Oh, man, I remember it used to suck so bad.
Yeah, well, mine's actually
Oh,
not bad. I would literally just when I climb down slowly, so I would,
yeah,
just lower maybe my carb intake. Don't
yeah,
eat so late in the evening. But then when it came to that last bit of a 2 kilo sweat out, I remember I just sat in the bath watching Netflix. It was great. I was a bit tired. Like, I found a lot of it. Like, when I'd sweat out in the past, I found like it was just too hot, and it wasn't like I was too dehydrated. My body was
yeah,
too hot, and I got too fed up. So I
yeah,
actually really put the temperature down. So it wasn't too hot. It was just, I would say, more warm than hot. But I would stay in there for 20 minutes at a time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes out, and go back in. And I just kept doing that, and it was great. Like, I literally just catch up on shows that I wanted to watch on Netflix, and that's what I use my sweat up for. And that was work for me. Like,
yeah, it's an easier way of doing it than having to do fucking 15 rounds on the rope
no,
with a sweat
yeah,
bag on you, and go do 10 rounds of pads or something. Oh man, or sprints with, oh, Jesus, no, I'm
no,
getting the shivers already thinking about all the things. I would never
no.
do that again. Not a chance for me to get back.
I,
No.
I remember it was like years ago when I was doing Olympic Taekwondo. Out in Korea, and we were fighting in a tournament there. And I just remember like just running around the car park with these black bags with some of my
Yeah,
other teammates, just in the heat out in Korea, just like, oh, 0.3 to lose. Oh no, this will take roughly. You're calculating in your head, how long will this take? And I had people next to me like spitting, like any bit of water to get them out.
yeah,
Speaking of which, you on about like crazy clubs and stuff. Like where the coaches like
yeah.
Korea is a different place altogether. Like, we trained out in the university there, and every time like a coach or a professor came in, everyone had to stop what they were doing and like, hands down, we'd say something in Korean. I don't even know what I was saying, but there was this big, yeah, they were crazy. They were lovely people. They were really welcoming. But when they went to spar, there was no like play sparring. It was like, no, I'm going to take your head off today. Like, as in, I'm
Yeah.
going to, yeah, yeah, yeah. There was no playing around. It was like they were full on. And like, I seen coaches out there like, give their students a slap because they're losing, and there was one test day where it was us against them. We had test matches set up, and we won, so we went out for Korean barbecue that day. And when we left, they were getting punished by running around the lap outside, like the
Yeah.
the running track outside. When we came back hours later, like 3 hours, they were still running around the track. Like, I was like, oh my god, they get the stick, not the carrot, uh
Jeez.
yeah. So like, it's different, like, and their mentality is, more is better, and
Yeah.
they break a lot of their guys that way. But the guys who push through it and get to the top, they're really just, their ability is staggering. They're brilliant, but the methods are a bit crazy.
There's
Like,
another thing. There's another. We'll start again when I can actually use the words. There's another train of thought there where people turn around and they're like, do you break the fighter or do you learn the fighter? Because there's a lot of old school type trainers will actually break down a guy
to
completely
bring
to
them up.
zero and then bring them all the way back up again.
So it's like the army mentality, isn't it?
Yeah. There's that real old
Yeah.
school type mentality. I don't know. I look, I'm very blessed with the trainer I had over the years, Andy. Absolute amazing guy. And I can say nothing but positive things. But I've seen what it can be, what kind of damage it can do to people. Like, when they're literally being broken down, where they can't even push their body off the ground anymore, and it's literally like a child looking for their mother inside their leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're being that far. That can't be that mentally. That can't be good for you. Mentally.
No,
that cannot be
no,
good
not
for
at
you.
all. I think it has to be a balance. Like you push them like a little bit, like you set little goals that they can achieve and that are attainable. They're definitely going to push themselves. It's going to be really
Yeah.
tough to get through, but you don't ever break their spirit, because what you're going to get then is when you have a teenager who has got a bit more freedom, or a young adult, they're just going to pack it in. They're going to quit, because every time it means going to the gym, it means suffering. Like like I know. This is one guy, I was talking about him to my students the other day. His name's Sanchai. So he's like one of the best Thai fighters of all time. He's in his 40s, and he's still going, like in a sport where it's knees and elbows. And, most fighters who are Thai fighters retire well before they're 30. He's still doing it. And his spars are so fun. He like takes the absolute piss. He plays. He doesn't do full on stuff, and he has coaches that are really relaxed. Like he definitely once or twice a week he puts in the work and he grasps, but from what I've seen of him when it comes to sparring, he relaxes and he plays, and whatever you learn then you commit to muscle memory, because it's in a relaxed state. If you're trying to do something that's really intense, where you're just like, someone's shouting at you to do more, you're just like, you're not taking that in. Your body's not taking it in, because your body's just fed up. It just wants to stop. Whereas if you're doing something in a play mode and you're relaxed and there's no restriction, no tension in the muscles, like a lot of times when I spar my students, I punch them, but I never make a closed fist. So if I hit them, it's a soft glove. It's a flick, boom, but it's not going to like rattle them. So it's this kind of tit for tat. And then when you hit them and you give them a smirk and a wink, they're like, oh, I'm going to get you back. And that's how it should be for you when you're beginning. Like, I'm all for test matches and like, really, really intense sparring. There's a time and place for them. But like, I remember before Bosnia, I had 3 days of test matches, and, 2 were in West Cork, one was in Dublin, where I had matches set up, and they were full on fights. But the rest of the sparring I did throughout the summer, they were all play. There was just, because I wanted to commit to muscle memory, and that's the only way you can do it, is working with your body, not against it. But I know what you mean when you see some of those coaches, but it feels like to me they've got one tool in their toolbox, and it's a hammer. I'm going to keep going and keep breaking until you get it right. My trainer Ian, he's very good. He kind of like works with what you're best at. So there's a lot of clubs I see that just make little robots for the coaches too. So they're like, this is my style, this works for me, I'm going to make you all fight the same way I do. So once you beat one of them tactically, you kind of beaten them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So some clubs, some clubs and countries, like it's their, their strategy is their Bible. It's like, this is the way we fight, this is the way we train. And you have someone then who's got something then particular that makes them special, that X factor, and you'll take it away if you're trying to doing this assembly line of fighters. So I think when Ian had me, I wasn't special. Like I really wasn't. Like I enjoyed the training. But I think somewhere around the age of 11 or maybe 10 or 11, I started like using my front leg a bit more. And he's like, oh, this is really good. Let's make this better. Let's not let everything catch up. It's like, let's make your leg, your lead leg, your left leg, side kick really, really good. So then I impose it. Then it's not like, I was a one-trick pony for a while, definitely. But this is me imposing my style. Your problem is to get around it. Your problem now is to try and beat my front leg. So I got really, really good at that. And he was like, okay, now you have to do it on the other leg. And now you have to have things that complement that. And it kind of worked up like that. So I worked off my best. So when I fight, if it's close or if it's tight, I still have my bread and butter. If I'm comfortable, other things come out because I'm in that relaxed state. I'm not stressed. But when I'm tired and I'm pressured, I go back to my basics, my bread and butter. And it's still tough for them to deal with, even if they're fighting a very fatigued Tony or version of myself, So
but
that's the way Ian.
Anyway, close to you with them legs, like, geez, dude, you must have like 10-foot long legs. I've seen you.
Oh yeah.
Kick, you know what I mean? Like, you got a fair reach with them kicks, like.
Yeah, like, so it's like dexterity. So like I would chamber my leg up so my foot is facing you. So there's like an actual barricade in front of you. So like from that position, I could go most any direction, you know. So like if I lift my leg up, I usually get a reaction, especially if they're kind of wary of it. So I play off that. That's the way I can control my fight. So what works for me is holding the center, playing with my chamber, lifting up, threatening. When I see them react, I kind of work off that. So that's a way I can control a fight. That works if I'm fighting someone who's like likes to play chess with me. But then if you're fighting someone who's just like, no, they'll flip open the chessboard and went, no, F you, you're going to fight my fight, and they just come for you, and they'll just batten down the hatches and walk through, and then it's a different kind of fight then again. And I say to my students, sometimes you won't have people who like to be nice to you. They'll, you know, it's a fight, you know, they'll impose their style. So you have to be able to match their intensity or learn to fight on the back foot and make angles and stuff. So yeah, you cannot be a one-trick pony in the sport because you get found out and exposed very, very quick. So yeah, it's such an it's like when you kind of like talk to people and you go in depth about fighting, they kind of go, "Whoa, yeah, there is that element to it. I never thought of it." Like breaking down fighting, timing, distance, control. That's what it is for me. You know, it's playing with that distance, imposing on that distance, faking that distance. Like you see really two elite guys who are very technically good and skilled and tactically aware. There might be anything that happens in that first minute because they're figuring each other out with their fakes and their timing and their distancing, and they're like, okay, when I do this, what does he do? When I fake into the distance, and you know, then as the fight goes on, it comes out. The combinations come out. The big punches come out. The haymakers come out. The execution of the combinations, and then you'll see people overextend or, you know, retreat too much or play it safe too much, or you'll see people then start to make mistakes, and the other fighter then capitalizes it. So it's that that fight that goes on at the start, that kind of subconscious, that fight that's underneath the surface that people don't understand. That's so important at the start for figuring out. But then again, like I said, you have the guy who just doesn't want to play chess with you, just flips the board, just, I'm going to match whatever, like I'm just going to match you down. I had that problem when I fought in Bosnia in my second fight. So that was the Russian dude. He did not want to play chess with me.
Like you could hit them boys with a shovel and they still come at you. Like
I remember I had a friend of mine who fought him before, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, he doesn't hit that hard. He's just intense. He just has a high work rate." And go, okay. I remember like first 20 seconds into the fight, he hit me and knocked me down. I was like, that fucking liar. That really hurt. I was like, oh, that liar. I remember, because for that fight, that was the big one. So he was the guy to win the event. He was the current world champion. And I remember we never fought before, but my thing to beat him, and I talked to my students about this, is like the importance of visualization. So every night after my training was done, as a cool down, I would like shadow box, but I would use my imagination. I imagine him fighting this dude. I've watched his fights on YouTube. I've seen him fight other Irish guys and other guys around Europe. So I would be in this mode in my head. It was like, think of it like Tai Chi. So shadow boxing is like, you know, but for me there was also a focus. So I was imagining I was fighting this guy, what he does, what he likes to do, what I will do against him when he does this, blah 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 blah. And I remember then when I came up to step up to fight him in my second fight, and I remember Lily Delacour, who was there with me that week, she said that he watched my first fight against the Spanish dude and he wasn't impressed with me at all. He was like, you know, it'd be an easy fight. First fight for him. He got a bye, I didn't. And I went in, I remember, okay, I was like, I stood up facing him, and the referee was calling us in to, you know, discuss the rules or whatever. And I remember I didn't even look at him in the eyes. I just looked at his center of his chest, and I was like, okay, I'm staring at your center mass right now. That's all that matters. It's like, the only thing that exists now is me, you, and my coach's voice, nothing else. And because my brain had been there so many times before fighting him in those shadow boxing out at my house or in my gym or whatever, my brain really didn't know the difference. Like, to my brain and my body, I had fought him 100 times over already. Whereas this guy, I guarantee he hasn't thought about me once. He underestimated me. So it's probably the first time he's ever going to fight me. So I remember like having that like in my head, and I knew that when he would come, and I imagined him with the pressure so many times before, it was something I was definitely able to cope with. Like, I did have that shock when I was like, my friend lied to me, he does hit hard. But I remember the strategy was match his intensity, even if it's like crazy, just match his intensity, but you finish the argument, you finish the exchange. I finished with a kick on the way out.
All the time. Always.
So I would, if I can, try to start and then definitely finish. And I remember him getting frustrated, and there was one point where we were in the clinch, and he was saying something to me in Russian, but it didn't sound positive. I remember like, oh, something's working. So I remember I just hit him again, And then he was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, dude, it's working. Boom, and hit him again. It was like, and then towards the end, I got more confident. I could see him getting like more and more frustrated. So I kind of like, I was really tired. But I was like, I'm definitely not going to show you that I'm tired. So even though I was absolutely just knackered, I remember just like approaching forward and faking as if, I'm still fresh, I'm still full of energy. And there wasn't that bit of cockiness that came out, because for 1 second I did drop my hands. I remember he stepped in and kicked me full in the face, in the chest. But at the same time, my head leaned over the leg. And I remember like proper Superman punching him in the nose. I just, both of us stumbling back. And I just remember looking at him going, what happened? Oh, and then running it, continuing again, only for a split second. But after that, I had a friend of mine who speaks Russian, and he was watching the fight live, and he could hear the Russian coaches and the fans screaming. And he said the only thing they were saying was, break him, smash him. And I was like, that's his mentality. So I was like, okay, as long as I can just match his intensity and just finish with that kick and that exchange and not lose my cool. And it worked, and it was my best performance I ever had. And I really enjoyed it. I'd love to fight him again. I don't know how I do it for form now, but I'd definitely jump at the chance to fight him again.
It's chess with consequences. That's what Andy used to always say to us.
Yeah, you're throwing bones at each other. And you're playing chess with your muscles, and you're just, that's it. Like, but there's so many levels to how you fight and perceive the fight, and like you watch. Saying that though, some of my worst performances have been against people who don't know what they're doing. They're beginners. Like, I go in and I'm sparring beginner, and I'm structured, so I can read structure. But when you fight someone who's not got any structure, who doesn't know what technique they're going to throw next, how the hell should I know? It's kind of like, that just, your structure goes out the window. You don't know what to expect. You don't know if an elbow's coming up or a hand's coming up or a leg's, because they don't know. And it can become like really messy, and you're like, oh God, that was a bad performance. And, you come out frustrated, and you're like, that's a beginner. I should have smashed him. I should have. But like it's such a weird game to play. You could be in it for 10 years and you fight this beginner who's been doing it a few months, but they're very fit and they're very strong, and they could definitely ruffle a good fighter's feathers.
Everybody's got a puncher's chance. That's what I always loved about fighting. And like, if you ever think someone doesn't have a puncher's chance, you don't have a clue. It's like there's always that rocky moment where they're gonna crack you, and if they crack you good, no matter how hard, if it just once it's in a good place. Like, we were always told, you can shake off a head punch, but you can never shake off a body punch. Do you know what I mean? You can't. Like, and I remember I was fighting in the Maritime. That was probably one of my last fights. And this guy cracked me in. He caught me right in the solar plexus, right where the ribs meet in the middle, right? And I felt my rib going, and he hit me a good hook now into it. And it actually felt like I pissed myself. I probably could have. I don't actually really know, but I pissed myself, right? And I remember going, oh, like really groaning. I was like, oh. And for about half a second, I couldn't breathe. But he was not going to get the better of me that night. That's how I knew, because this guy had been dodging me. He didn't weigh in the counties at the right weight. He dodged me. He didn't weigh in the Munsters at the right way. He dodged me. And he didn't weigh in the All-Irelands. He dodged me. And I was like, I'm going to fight you now. Like, you know what I mean? So like, whatever weight he was coming in that night, I was meeting that weight. Like, I was hoping he was going to be heavier than me, because if he was heavier than me, I could come in whatever I want. You know what I mean? But he came in light, and I said to myself, he was going to come in light, because if I came in heavy, he wouldn't have to fight then. So it would suit him. Like, he had to be in with 0.5 of a kg. So like, if you're like, it was a show. So if you're fighting at 52, you're probably sort of show weight is maybe 54, 56, somewhere like that. But he came in at 52. And I was prepared for 52. So I came in at 52, because I knew if he came in at 52 or if he came in at 54 and I was at 52, we could still have it. If he came in at 57 and me at 52, we could still have it.
But really?
Because I wanted to fight. So like, you can give away weight if you want, but you can't give away. Like, he couldn't tell me to have the fight if he was at 57 and I was at 52.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You understand what I'm saying? I could give away the weight if I wanted to, but he couldn't come back down. So he was trying to play the whole sort of, he won't make weight for the fight, so it'll be cancelled. So he weighed in light. So I remember weighing in 52, bang on. I was like, we're having this. But he hit me a punch, man. I swear to God. It was like, if it had been any other day, any other day, he would have had me
Yeah.
stone cold out. Like I would have gone down, but I was like, no way, son, are we having this? So we went over and swung for the fences anyway, and I ended up beating him in the second round with a body punch, which was surprising enough. After he cracking me
Nice.
with a body punch sort of halfway through the first round, I was like,
I think I was there that night, you know.
It could have been. Yeah, Shaddam was boxing that night.
Yeah.
Because he was on all of our shows. Yeah. So it was that night, and I was like, no, this guy ain't beating me. Like, because I'd planned to fight him for so long, and I wanted to fight him, and I was like, right, this guy, he's getting it. Like, you know what I mean? We're gonna throw down now. We're gonna go meet in the middle, and one of us ain't backing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just so happy. He was like, my victory that night wasn't actually the fight; it was the weigh-in. To get the weigh-in right, I felt right. The rest would be easy. You know what I mean? Not easy, but like the hard part was done because I was so worried about the weight and so worried about everything else coming in that I couldn't actually get the fight that I wanted, you know? But I remember, oh man, he hit me a body punch. Jesus.
I got dropped by a body shot before. It's not nice. You try and, it's delayed, first of all. And then second thing is when you try and take a breath, there's nothing. It's just so scary. Like it's horrible. Yeah, it's weird. Like it's such a shock to the system. I prefer getting knocked out to the head every time.
Yeah.
Like as in, you go to sleep. You know, it's a nice little nap. Go to sleep.
you don't feel it. Keen's coming in with a question. He goes, question for Tony. How do you manage your nerves in stressful fighting situations?
So for me, I read a really good book called The Chimp Paradox. It's really good. So it's all about like kind of using your logical side of your brain. I more so than your emotional side. So there was that was really like understanding, and also it's called The Chimp Paradox. So it's a book written by Professor Steve Peters, I think his name is. It's a very good book. If you're looking to deal with like mental things and like performance, and definitely give that a read. It's really, really good. But like for me, if I was feeling particularly stressed on the day, I would help to write things down, and then kind of just go and see it for what it is and be like, okay, what can I actually control here? Like a lot of people say, oh, just think positive. It's like, no, they don't know what they're talking about. He's like, you can't just think positive. It doesn't work that way. It's like, I tell you, don't think of a pink elephant. What are you thinking of? You're thinking of a pink elephant, yeah. So it doesn't work that way, you know. So it's important to understand that, okay, when you have these thoughts and they come true and you're stressed, your brain is like a muscle, so it's working. It's like your heart beating, more and more. Your brain's going to work more and more. So for me, I remember thinking, okay, when the negative thoughts come along, okay, just this isn't my bus. No, I'm not getting on this one. You just let them go, and just understanding that like this is when your body is getting ready to perform, like where your heart rate accelerates, your palms are like really sweaty, your legs are a bit jellyish, your voice is a bit like, this is your body getting ready to perform. It's giving you adrenaline that's going to help you when you go and fight. Unfortunately, if you were to go and give a speech that day and you're nervous, like your body doesn't know the difference between you giving a speech where it doesn't really matter if you mess up, or you dying in the jungle from running from that tiger. It's giving you what it thinks you need. So it's kind of like about working with it. And the best athletes in the world work with what they got. They work with that fire that's given to them. So it's like, okay, this is my body getting me ready to perform. That you welcome it, embrace it. The other thing as well is focus on what I can control. So a big thing I used to have when I fight is I'd be, oh, what does this person think of me if I lose? And, my other opponent, he's really good at this, or, and who's watching me, and what if I lose, or what if I, all this stuff. And it's like, well, okay, just ask yourself, can you control that? Can you control any of that? Winning and losing isn't up to me. It's not up to me at all. It's up to the judges. It's up to the judges and referees. So winning and losing is out of my hands. So forget about that. And then, okay, my other opponent, I can't control him. No way. So forget about that too. And like, okay, who's watching? People are going to watch, people are going to record, people are going to make up their own minds. But the thing is, people aren't thinking about you as much as you think about yourself. So when I kind of sat down and was like, okay, what can I actually control here? Well, I can control my food for the morning. So like eating well, having a good breakfast or whatever it is, listening to my coach, and doing my optimum best to feel good on the day, warming up, listening to good music, putting myself in the zone. And like what I did with my opponent, with the Russian, it was, okay, I exist, he exists, my coach exists, nothing else. That's it. I don't need to look anywhere else in the room. That's it. I'm looking at the center of your mass, the center of your chest. That's it. That's all I need to. And then when you kind of like narrow your focus and be like, all these other spinning plates that you think matter, they don't. You just focus on like those three things, like yourself, how you feel, like performing well and listening. That's it. That's all you can do. And I think from what I've learned over the years of that, and like, you know, I can't help but apply it to other things that are kind of stressful in my life as well. Like once you've been in the ring where someone's punching and kicking you, and other people are watching, and you know, it's a very macho sport. But once you kind of like been through that, like other things don't really scare you as much. Like I do get scared every now and again. Like if I was to do a bungee jump tomorrow, I'd be like, ooh, this is kind of nervous. You know, it's not the same thing. But like in terms of performance and trying to bring the best out of you, you can. It's just about understanding. Like some people say, oh, don't think about your limitations. Well, think about things that are limited around you that you can control. And once I focus on those things I can control, that's it. Everything else is just wasted energy, wasted stress. So that's my advice, and that's how I deal with fight nerves on the day.
It's like what I said at the very start of this podcast. It's only as hard as you make it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if we really think about this COVID thing, and we really think about how many people are getting sick or sadly dying and stuff like that, like, I have never not watched the news so much in my entire life. I used to always love watching the news. I genuinely did. I used to love it. I used to go, oh, it's 6:05. Let's see what's on the news, you know? And such and such and such and such. Like, I just think it's bad. There's no such news, or was it? There's no news, but what's the old saying? No news is good news. Isn't that what they say? Only bad news travels. And I just know, man, I can't deal with it anymore. Like every second conversation is, oh, how's COVID? Or, oh, how are you doing? Are you waiting for the pub to back open again? Are you waiting for this to start happening again? Man, it's going to happen when it happens.
Just focus on yourself right now. Just right now, what you
really what it is like. That's exactly what I've done. I've gotten very selfish in my ways, and I've just said, you know what? If people want me, they can come get me. If they don't, then I ain't going to be worrying too much about it. It's like this whole podcast thing. This podcast thing came up for me just simply being bored. And that's what it was. I was like, you know what? We got some cool people in Bantry. And we've got some great people. Like, we got you, world record holder, or world champion. We've got world record holder powerlifters. We've got we've got some amazing, amazing people. Like, you know, we've got artists. We've got loads from such a small little town in West Cork, like that is not even a dot on the map. We've got some great stories here, you know what I mean? And like this, all it came with just talk, you know, reach out to people, see what they're at, see what they're doing, you know, pass a bit of time. And that's really how this whole thing sort of came about. And it's a thing of nothing, but it's a thing of everything, you know what I mean? Because you reach out, you say hello to people, and even if they're on their Facebook pages or sitting in the jacks like I do for 20 minutes and you're scrolling through it and you're kind of looking to, you know, pass the time is like the new age newspaper now for fellas. They don't bring the newspaper to the toilet anymore. They bring their phone with them. But like if this can entertain someone for 10 or 15 minutes a day or whatever to catch it on a Thursday night, then we did a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we've got
absolutely.
so many good stories here in West Cork and in Bantry that I thought that they need to get them out there. You know, you have to.
Yeah.
Have to. Do you know what I mean? There's so many cool stories there. There's so many amazing people, and let's not think about COVID. Let's not fucking worry about it, man. It might last for 20 years. It might last for another 20 days. It might last for another 20 hours. You, me, ain't gonna be able to control this. You know, we're not gonna wake up in the morning and go, right, the whole world's back to normal, lads. Let's go. Let's have it. Nah, just fucking relax. You know what I mean? Enjoy your time that you have with your kids, with your wife, with your partner, with your husband. Just enjoy it. Live right now. You know what I mean? Don't be living for others. Like some people are always like, oh, did you hear the numbers? Did you hear the numbers? Did you hear the numbers? Can't control it, man. Stop letting the outside in. Stop letting the outside in. Just keep to yourself. Just, you know?
It's the same with like the money issues as well. Like money will come and go. Like your family, that's the most important thing. Like it really is. Like
100%, man. It's 100%. And you know, the sad thing about it is it's not until something happens that you realize that. You know what I mean? It's not till like
you'll have one guy who's like, you know, he'll be stressing over his money and his, you know, things and material things, and then you'll have someone who's just lost someone really close to them, and they'll be like, that person then will still be grateful for what they still have, you know. And it's those perspectives that, like, I like to have the helicopter experience perspective. So like I kind of like zoom out and be like, okay, well, what things am I really, really happy about? And definitely the first thing that always comes up is my family, you know, my partner Breda. I love so much. And my two little daughters, like, they're so so fun and cute.
Do you know,
I just love
I've,
being around
I've
them.
had a lot of jobs in my life. I've had probably more jobs in the FOSS office, but being a dad is definitely the best job you could ever have. Like, you know what I mean? Especially
100%.
especially the little girl. Oh, question for you. This is going to be an interesting one. You going to take your girls to the gym?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I get an awful lot of this sometimes. They're like, oh, your daughter's gonna do kickboxing. What happens if they don't like it? It was like, I'll make it as fun for them as I make it for any other kid that joins. But like, to me, it's their education. A kid doesn't like to eat their vegetables or brush their teeth or go to school. You're gonna just listen to them and give in. My dad didn't give in on me. I remember I was 11. I didn't want to do this anymore. I was like, "Feck this! I don't want to do any more push-ups. I'm sick of this. Oh God, I really, Dad, I don't like this. My friends have quit. I want to quit." I just remember my dad be like, "No, no, I know what's best for you. Stick at it. Yeah, just no." I was like, "I know what's best for you, and you've had a bad week, but you'll have a better one next week." And he was dead right. He made me go back, and next week I enjoyed it again. And from there, I got to represent Ireland, compete junior, compete senior. I met my partner through the sport. I got a career through the sport. I earned a living through the sport, and I'm fit through this sport. I'm happy. I'm confident through this sport. I have so many things to be happy for, and like, I'm definitely like all for easing off on kids and not making everything super super serious. Like, nothing. Like, to me, my daughters, when they do kickboxing, and I'm gonna make sure they do jiu-jitsu as well. I'm not gonna be like, they don't have to be world champions. They don't have to, compete every weekend. They don't have to be elite athletes, but they're going to learn and understand the benefits of doing an individual sport like kickboxing, like jiu-jitsu, because those things apply to the rest of your life. The discipline, the respect, the control, the focus, the dedication. These are things that are really taught to you. And unfortunately, not all those are experienced in school. Like, you can definitely learn an awful lot from school, but there's some certain things you learn from sport that you can't really learn in school, and martial arts is a big thing. Like, learning self-defense is really important as well. Oh yeah. And so when you have all those benefits, you're like, okay, you want to quit because you had a bad week? No, you're going to stick at it, and I'll try and make it fun for them again. So yeah, my daughters are absolutely going to be doing kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. And the great thing about the individual sports is no one sits on the bench. Everyone has their own journey to go on. Some will grow faster than others, but they'll reap the benefits that you get from doing a martial art. And
that's the one thing that you can't, and you'll know as well as anybody that has the courage and has the dedication to do it. When that bell goes, you're on your own. You know what I mean? Like, that's the fun part. When that bell goes, there's never been a feeling I can even get to where you're on your own. Like, it's go time, son. Snakes don't boots. You're going in. You know what I mean? Like, you're ready. You're first over the war line, like, and you're on your own. You ain't got 10 other people to pick up your slack, or you ain't got 14 others in a team to pick up your slack. If you have a bad day, you're getting hurt. And that is a serious lesson to learn, because like, it has a lot to do with your own consequences. You know what I mean? Like, making sure that you're able to stand up for yourself, but also able to stand up for what you do. How, like, if you don't prepare for a fight and you get hurt, that's not your coach's fault. That's not your training partner's fault. That is your fault. So
that you can only get so far on, your coach. You have to do it on your, you have to do a certain amount yourself. Like, you're responsible for your performance, and when you have that ownership and that responsibility, and you're learning to treat your body properly with how you eat and how you train, how you sleep, you're starting to use that to make you a better person. That's mindset. You're going to apply it to other things in life. How could you not? You can't be dedicated to something and train every day and want something so bad, but then be a fat slob at something else. It really does, because like, even let's say I'm bad at math in school. I know I'm bad at math. I know I'm a good kickboxer. I know what it takes to be better at math, and it means sitting down and doing the work and putting the work in the same way I put in the work. Like, I know I'm worth a lot in this particular activity, this sport, this kickboxing, and I know how I got there, by hard work. Therefore, I apply that same logic to my math. I'm going to be better at my math. It's not, and if you have that kid who's like, oh, I'm no good at this, I'm no good at anything, I'm worthless, so I just want to play Fortnite all day, and it's just like, Well, no, if you get them doing something like an individual sport where they're off the bench, they're doing stuff, they're taking part, and you have a coach who's passionate, who sees a potential in you, they'll bring the best out of you. They really will. So it's a matter of you then sticking at it, having the support from your parents, and then you'll grow. You really will grow as a person.
100%. But do you ever like, this is always a weird thing that I found out. I'm only looking back at it now, but like when you're fighting in competitions and shows and stuff like that, and always when, like, because we'd have shows, so like what happened was the home team would bring away boxers to fight the homeboys, like, you know what I mean? And the homeboys would always try and pick a slightly weaker fella to fight, or else they'd pick a harder fella if they were dodging some. So like they were kind of tapered fights per se. But if you were at an away, like if I was an away boxer going to a show and you hear all the crowd roaring and booing and stuff like that, isn't it amazing how with all the noise you can still pick out your coach's name or your coach's voice? Just as you can hear it, like, you know what I mean?
You've been trained to listen to it for so long, you know. Yeah, it just cuts through the noise. A good coach that voice will cut through the noise and get to you because you know. And every coach who's a good coach, like, they know that some fighters, they need to chill out before they fight because they get worked up. They'll say really nice, encouraging things. They'll be relaxing with you when you come to the corner. And then there's the other fighters who need to kick up the hole because they're too relaxed going in, and they need to start in, sixth gear, not start in second gear. You know, so like a good coach can like read their fighter, like, and like I remember Ian. I was fighting in Azerbaijan back in 2010. I was in the final. I was fighting another Russian in the final. I was really nervous, and Ian could tell, like, I was, walking around too much. My eyes were darting around the room. I was rubbing my pants, getting nervous, and I remember Ian just sat down, and my fight was delayed anyway. And I remember he just sat down with me and talked absolute shite to me. He was like asking me about movies and, telling me that I need to get a girlfriend when all this is done, and, just utter everything and anything not to do with kickboxing. And I remember then going, oh, you're up in 15 minutes. Let's get warmed up. And it was like, boom. So all that time I could have spent stressed and all that energy wasted. It wasn't. It was like, it was put to relaxation, and he took my mind somewhere else. So afterwards he was like, I don't know what I was even saying to you, Tony. I don't even watch that series, that movie. I just said I did. It's like he's an excellent coach, and he knows his fighters inside and out. And he's known me and been in my corner since I was 6'7". So, when I went out to Bosnia, even in my last fight, he knew the right things to say. He was, you just have someone who knows you so well, and it's good to have that person in your corner, And yeah, absolutely. When there's people and there's noise and shouting, he knows, that coach will know how to cut through that noise with their voice. But
you'll pick it no matter how many voices, no matter how much roaring, music, banging, whatever's going on, you can just pick it up. And I've never, like, again, it's something you can't really explain to people, because you say, oh, there's 4,000 people in the room, or there's 400 people in the room, or there's 400,000 people in the room. There's only one person you hear. Like you said at the very start, nothing else matters. Only you, the fighter, and your coach. And that is it.
Yeah. In international, it's even easier in international, because like you've got Italians screaming here, you got Turkish and Russians, and you're like, where's the English? Ah, there's the English. That's my coach. The West Cork accent. Yeah, it's great.
There we go.
yeah.
It sticks with the English. Yeah. It's the only one that will go there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I must get into? And I'm kind of pissed with all this time off in COVID. I'd love to start rolling in jiu-jitsu. I'd like to see.
So much fun, Terrence. It's so much fun.
I know people are saying, but the only problem with that is I think if I got into it and I enjoyed it, I'd be like, fuck it, I need to do more. But
yeah, you would absolutely.
I might think about just try it, just to see what it's like, because at least I can say I did it.
I did it purely to put myself back into that white belt mode of being a white belt and learning again. And you're absolutely hopeless. Like my trainer, Blair, he's just phenomenal. As in, he work like I'm going so intense, and he's just playing, he's relaxed, but he'll stop and be like, okay, I have you now, see if you do this, you make it easy for me. And it's so much fun. And it's like that was one thing I had this problem growing up in school. Oh, sorry, I got a cramp there on my leg. I had this problem in school, and when I was doing security work, doing like door work and bouncing and stuff, like when people were like, oh, that Tony guy will sort you out, it's like, you're talking about, wrestling someone to the ground, like submitting them, putting an arm behind their back. In school, it's play fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play fight. I don't know how to play wrestle. Like, I know how to punch and kick you in the face, but I know that will get me expelled or I'll get me thrown in court. So I remember when I was doing bouncing work, uh, I was like if there was like a rough and I was expected to kind of grab the guy, put the arm behind his back, and walk him out. I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I was kind of like scared about what do I do when things are not quite at boiling point, but they're leading up to it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that jiu-jitsu kind of definitely filled in a big blank because it's like it's all close quarters, it's all grabbing your clothes, and a lot of fights now go to the ground. Like if you're out in the real world, if a fight takes place, 80% of it goes to the ground, and it's clothes being grabbed, it's hairs and necks being pulled, and that's all jiu-jitsu is. And once you're kind of there and you do it so much, you're comfortable. Like I remember having a mess around with my brothers doing that, and I was like, "This is so relaxing and easy now. I'm not nervous at all. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how to keep you here. I know the positions. I know how to submit you." And it's like they know nothing. It's like having this amazing little edge on someone,
Power. Yeah, Jedi
Yeah,
power.
yeah. It's great. It's really satisfying because like if you've been in my position for years and years and years, and there's been like lads, and I'm a small frame guy. I'm not huge like or anything, but and you have that play messing around in school, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're just as good as them in that. Then they think, oh, I don't know, and then you go and do jiu-jitsu and you start to learn the stuff, and like, wow, this is amazing, and that's why I recommend kids getting into this, especially. I think jiu-jitsu is definitely a thing that kids should get into. Like for me, my daughters, I want them to do a bit of dancing and gymnastics first because the best kids who train with me, they always have a background in one of the twos or both. So like from gymnastics and dancing, you get balance, you get flexibility, you get coordination. Yeah, you get so much. So that's great, like building block to do any other sport. Like you go do soccer, you'll be good at that. You'll have the speed and coordination. And so I'll get them doing that first. But like for example, now my jiu-jitsu trainer was telling me about this time one of his students got into a big altercation with a bigger lad in school, and they were playing football, and this lad was hacking at this younger lad's shins, like taking him out in these tackles, and the kid like got up and was like, "What's your problem? Like, why are you doing this?" And the guy got in his face, and the big guy pushed him. And anyway, it looked like this guy was going to throw a punch. So what this kid did was he did a takedown, double and under, took his legs, sat down, climbed up around his side, sat on him, had him in a pinned position. So basically, he wasn't moving anywhere. He was this guy that was half his size. Yeah, just like and put his arm in a certain position. He was never going to break his arm or anything like that. He'd like held him in a position where it's awkward to move, and he just kept him there. There's no punches. There was no blood. There was no. It ended then there. The guy, he'll have a bruised ego and he'll feel a bit embarrassed for having a guy half his size put him on his arse and keep him there, against his will. But when they came back to the parents and the kids and the teachers and all the principals there and everything, what could you say? It was like, there was no punches. There's no, if he fell on grass, everyone falls on grass. You slip over on grass when you're playing football. But it kind of highlighted why learning jiu-jitsu at an early age is really good, because if someone puts hands on you, that's your bread and butter in jiu-jitsu. They grab hold of your shirt, they grab, what to do. For me, it's like if someone did that to me growing up in school, I was like, I don't want to get expelled. And you're thinking about punching them, and you're like, you're like, so you can't. You're like, oh, I don't want to take it. I don't want to hurt them, and I don't want to get hurt myself. And things can escalate really fast if you're the person to do that. But if you're that person who can like hold your ground, show them what you can do, restrain them, but no one gets hurt, that's an amazing skill. And I wish I learned that growing up. So that's why, like the likes of my daughters will be doing jiu-jitsu as well. It's so important, I think.
Where are you doing that now?
Well, I haven't done it in a while because of COVID, but I was doing it in Bandon. So my trainer, Galera, he's really good. He's a European champion. He's excellent. He's one guy you should definitely get on the podcast. He's really good guy. He runs kids classes in Bandon. He does a bit of capoeira as well, but he's really an excellent coach, really good jiu-jitsu athlete. He's this is a really nice guy all around, because I remember back before COVID and stuff, I would come out and train with him. I do a personal training session, but my daughter Isla would be playing with his daughter, so they're in that environment as well, and it's it's fun, So so I'm like I would say like jiu-jitsu is a lot of fun. You should definitely give it a go. It's really.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try when we get back to some bit of normality. Well, when we get back to some normality, be from 0 to 100 miles an hour again. But yeah, no, I'd like to. I don't know why. I genuinely, because there's a lot of hype about it. Maybe it's just because just to see if I could or if I can. Now the thing about jiu-jitsu is everybody can. Like that's the different thing. Like, you know what I mean? You mightn't, like, a 4 foot nothing guy can take down a 10 foot tall guy with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
4 foot nothing guy probably
I've been
won't
there.
be able to knock out a guy that's 10 foot tall. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
it's a great equalizer, and that's kind of what I'd like to. I don't know, maybe just 3 or 4 training sessions to see if just to see what it's about. You know, just do a few rolls just to see, you know, like just to see what it'd be like in that situation. Because like you, growing up was always a pain in the hole, but the thing about it was, and this was always a very good thing, and you can spot people who have respect for themselves and know how to fight. Those who know how to fight don't actually want to fight.
No,
because we go to a different fucking level, and that is the problem. Like a street fighter or whoever just gets stuck, they might throw 3 or 4 punches, but if you're throwing 3 or 4 punches at me, I'm going to hit you with 100. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. You know, and I used to always turn around and say, look, just go away. And I even now, with like what I'm 33 now, I would literally run from a fight because I just couldn't be fucked with it anymore. I really couldn't, man. Genuinely, maybe I'm just old and fat now, but I just couldn't deal with the hassle of it. Like, and the one thing about fighting is, and the one thing about training in the martial arts, any of them now, I'm not just saying boxing or any of the rest of them, is it keeps you humble. You don't have anything to prove. You don't go into a boxing gym a hard man, because you go into a boxing gym a hard man, you leave quickly. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people harder inside there. But you don't have to have this whole, oh, you hit me, so I'm going to knock you out type mentality. You know, you don't have to go around with your shoulders swinging and, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm this. You know what I mean? You've nothing to prove because you've done it in the ring. You know, and that's a lovely gift to have, that you don't have to go out and show off and fight, have 400 fights in school or have 300 when you don't need that in your life, especially as a young fella, you know, when the hormones are starting to go and, you know, you start getting your first sort of beard and, you know, the balls start to fall and stuff like that, you know, and you start smelling differently and you start smelling other things and, you know, things start driving a bit crazy, like, you know, just time. That was one thing I always enjoyed growing up in my teenage years was, now I still got stuck in shit that I shouldn't have, but it had to have escalated to like 120 before it even gauge my interest. You know what I mean? It would really, really have to be. He'd have to hit me first as well, which happened quite a few times, I will say. But he would really have to push it, like, you know, he'd really, really, really. And I used to always say, and he used to be a very good one, especially in clubs and shit like that. And I'd turn around and I'd say to them, look, I don't have to be drunk to fight you. I said, I'll meet you here again tomorrow, 4 o'clock if you want. If you want to be there at 4 o'clock, you text me. Here's my number. Ain't no one ever texts me. You know what I mean? Especially when alcohol and everything like that is, because they kind of look at you. Yeah, I'm not gonna fight a drunk. If I was drunk and fighting, I wouldn't know what I'd do, and that's what frightens me. It's not what damage can be caused to me; it's what damage I can cause to somebody else while fighting under the influence, because you don't fucking remember what you're doing. You don't have control. You know what I mean? You don't have control. And that was the one thing I always liked growing up. I didn't need to prove to anybody how hard I was or how much I had to do this or how many fights or any of that. I didn't need to prove it because it was already done for me. You know what I mean?
You get it out in the ring and hitting the bag, like you get it out of your system.
Yeah, and that's one thing I always really, really liked about it. And that was one thing, especially, well, if I had boys, if I have boys, they'll be doing that because it'll knock the fucking tasby clean out of them. Because I get the big heavy guys that come down and hit them, and they're going to learn that. But also, like you said, self-defense is very, very important for girls. So my girls will be doing something. They learn how to throw a punch. You never know when it can come useful. Just know it. You don't need to do it every day. You don't need to ever do it at all in your life. But if you just know how to throw a punch and get yourself out of that situation, give yourself enough time to get away. You know what I mean? Yeah. That can save a life.
Yeah, I teach self-defense actually out in School Community College, and I always say, look, you know, and if I've got a group of teenagers, they're all 15, 16 or whatever, I was like, okay, how many of you can beat me in a fight right now? And, you know, there might be one cocky little fella that say, oh, I can, you know, but maybe he's messing. Most of them don't put up their hand. And I go, okay, all right, okay. But could you hit me to the eye or the throat or the groin quick enough to stun me so you can run out that door and call for help? And they go, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, because you can't condition your eyes or your throat, your groin. So
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
okay, if you're in real fear for your life, you just need to know where to hit. You need to know how to be subtle. You need to know how to get out of there. And if you are going to commit to doing that preemptive strike, you have to know that you're in the right. That you've done everything you can to avoid, because you do not want to be called into court. And like, again, you know, you hit someone out in the street, you don't know if they've got a blood clot, you don't know if they've got you know, if they have a seizure, you don't know if they've got heart problems like a pacemaker, you don't know how they're going to even hit their head when you hit them, if they go to the ground. You don't know, and anything could happen. So it's like, you really have to make sure you know what you're doing and that you've done everything you can to avoid. If you're in real fear for your life, you've got to do what you can to escape. But if you've also got that gift of the gab, because like most fights start from the eye contact. The eye contact is the first thing, and then what are you looking at is the next thing, you know. And it's so easy to give it back. It's so easy to just go, oh, what the f- do you say to me, and blah blah blah. What's your problem? But like, if you're really nice, it's really hard. Like, if you're like, some people now, it doesn't matter. Like, they could be off their head on drinking drugs, so nothing really registers. You're not really dealing with a human anymore. They're like, their brain. Yeah. But if you're dealing with someone who's just had a really nasty day and who has a bad temper, and they go, what the f- you looking at? Your shirt, it's lovely. Where did you get that shirt from? I want to get one for myself. And they're like, what? Because you're not giving it back. You're not giving any. For them to get to the point where it's fighting, they have to escalate it with you. So they have to go on this journey of insults and posturing. But if you really, it's really hard to insult someone when they're so nice to you. Imagine it like it's being your grandmother and she's just lovely. And then imagine saying the worst thing you can say to her and trying to get to the point where she's mad. You feel bad. So like, I've had people before come up to me and be like, you know, what do you say to me? Oh, you know, you're whatever. You look lovely. You know, something. Give them a compliment. Just tell them like they dress well or something. And it just takes them a few seconds to kind of go, what? It slows their momentum down. And
politicians are great with that. If you ever see live politician talk, you know, and someone becomes, and they have a big, like, I got caught there when the cozy got flooded. We had all the politicians down, nice and smiling, and I had one politician in particular in mind, and I had a fucking spiel ready for him. I said, I'm going to get you, no boy, because I'm sick of being a lapdog now, being a business owner, and sick of being taxed to the absolute hilt, paying everything, and then being left with it, right? So I was ready, and went off anyway, and had it perfect. Like, I don't learn things that often. I can do 90% off the cuff anyway. But I said to myself, no, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to have it perfectly ready, able. It was written in my head. I was like, yeah, he's coming. I was going to get him. Bang. Went off. 10 sentences in. I was full in steam. Now I was committed. I was over the ledge. I was committed. I was giving him my big fucking speech and everything like that. And he turned around. He goes, Christ, you were awful young when you took on the pub. And I was like, yeah, I know I was. And he just threw me off. He gave me that. It was just that stupid question he asked me. Like, we were verbally sparring. Do you know that type of way? Like, we were verbally sparring. I had a spiel, and he just turned around, Christ, you were awful young taking on the pub, weren't you? And I was like, yeah, I know. I was only 25, 26 taking it on. And how would you fare out with that? And he totally, like, it was, we had this type of mentality, this type of verbal fight ready for him. And he just turned it on me.
Changed
and
gears,
I'd forgotten absolutely everything I had prepared for him. And I was going, I came out afterwards and went to him because it was being videotaped at the time. And I says, you're very good at this. I said, fair play to you. Not me. And he says, yeah. He says, it's just something like that, he said. And I was going, well, is that? And it was just, he twisted it. He just twisted it right at the right time because I was over the edge. I was committed to giving him my 2 pence. And he just turned around and said, you're awful young taking on a bear, weren't you?
Because he got you in that mode of like angry, going from angry to being like, yeah, I'm a bit sorry for myself because maybe I did start it young and maybe I wasn't ready for it, you know. And you know, it can get you thinking about, you know, it just completely changes your like
he just likes it completely.
Yeah, it's clever. Like, there's that whole different fight game that I'm not like. I'm getting to know the inside close fighting range from jiu-jitsu. I know long range fighting and kickboxing. I do not know how to verbally spar with someone very well. Like, but I try and my best to like keep a level head. You know, like just because I find the best thing to do with someone who's being really like, say, aggressive or nasty or whatever is to just keep at a calm level as best you can. The worst thing to do is, like what I say, don't throw fuel on the fire, don't feed the dragon, don't give them ammunition, you know, just stay calm, talk to them politely. But if you can change tacks like that and change the gears on them, you know, you take the rug from underneath them, absolutely, you know.
And I remember completely got
yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
seasoned politician. He was seasoned. And he was just like, "Yep, that's what we do." And he sort of admitted it afterwards to me, and I was like, when you've kind of just been had, like, it was so good. It's like getting like slagged off by someone, and it's such a good comeback. You kind of go, okay, yeah, I can't really do anything about that.
But it's hard to get your momentum back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do it with your daughters as well. Like, you could do it with your daughter. It's a distraction, like, and I seen one guy do it, and he's just so well. He's like, his daughter was like crying, and he's like, okay, but it's my turn to cry now. And she's like, what? Yeah. And then he starts crying. He's like, your turn? And she's just kind of like, and he's like, okay, I'll go again. And then he starts crying, and then she's like, all right, your turn. And then she starts crying, but it's not real. It's not, since it's fake. So they keep doing this until he gets her laughing again. It's like, it's that is just it's good.
No, it's really good. Right, come on, we could talk all night here, man. Jesus.
Sorry.
When things get back together, we might even have an old spare, or we might do something to an old man and a young fit man. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm nearly 30, so I'm no young man anymore.
Jesus, yeah, I'm 33 now, and I can feel it. Right, we've got the most important part of our podcast. We've got a 30-second rapid fire quiz, right? So cool. In about 8 seconds, these got to come very, very fast and quick at you, right? So you got to go straight, whatever answer, as soon as possible, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. Tony Stephenson, here we go. Which is worse, doing the dishes or doing the laundry?
Laundry.
Chocolate in the fridge or outside the fridge?
Outside the fridge.
Do you prefer Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
What's the correct way to hang the toilet roll? This is our most topical question. Does it go to the front or does it go to the back on the wall?
Back on the wall.
iPhone or Android?
Android.
Favorite actor or actress?
Jesus, sorry. Let's say Liam Neeson. I don't know why. Yeah. His first one pops in my head.
He's good. Yeah, I like him. When you're booking a room in a hotel, do you want a city view or an ocean view? Which would you prefer?
Ocean view. West Cork by ocean view. You need
it. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Dog.
Favorite day of the week?
Thursday.
Bar Ireland, what's your favorite country in the world?
Croatia.
I've never been. I got to put it on the list because it's supposed to be beautiful.
Nice. It's lovely.
It's supposed to be absolutely beautiful over there. Tony, thank you so much for doing this, brother. I really, really appreciate you taking time out. Say hello to everybody at home. Say hello to Dom if you're talking to him, because I haven't seen that boy in about 8 years. So
I'm seeing him very soon, so I will, yeah.
Good. Tell him I said hello, and hello to everybody over there. Thank you so much for doing this, brother. I really, really appreciate it, and God bless.
No problem.
All right, man?
You too. Bye-bye.